Hello, and welcome back to the Money Hungry Mama. I am your host, Brittany, and I am here today with Toni. Toni, take it away.
Hi, everyone. I'm Toni Mullin, and I am the owner of Next Level Kids NJ.
Oh my gosh. So now, Toni, tell us, what is Next Level Kids NJ?
So it is a little bit of everything. I started this back in 2022, and I was doing social and sensory play classes for all children, an all-inclusive class from ages 12 months to 12 years. So I'm an occupational therapist, and so I wanted to start it just to get the kids involved, to offer something for the parents and also the children, and to teach about the benefits of occupational therapy and proper development.
Oh my gosh. So now, what sparked this idea?
Actually, it was the pandemic. It was right after the pandemic. Everything was starting to get back into the routine of things. People were starting to venture out of their house. And I realized there wasn't really much to do for the kids. I live in a big sports town. So there had so many different activities and sports activities for kids, but there really wasn't many things for kids that didn't like sports, like the ones that liked the Minecraft and the Pokemon and the Beyblades. So I decided to start that, and then it just boomed into sensory play classes, and then it started going into homeschool pod classes, and then it went into birthday party favors and sensory play kits, and now I'm doing Miss Rachel visits, and it's just expanding into everything.
My gosh, I'm so glad that you mentioned the Miss Rachel visits because that was definitely going to be a question. How do you do those?
So I was actually running a class one time, and one of the moms said, "You would be a perfect Miss Rachel." And I said, "No way." And she said, "Yeah, you definitely should do it." So I was like, "Okay, don't judge me, but I'll do a class." So I dressed up and I did a class, and it was like the best thing. And the kids, I swear, I felt like Santa Claus. Like, when you go to Santa Claus and you see your child's face just light up, like I felt like a celebrity. Kids were like looking into my eyes. They were calling me Miss Rachel, and it was the best feeling. So I said, I gotta do this. So I knew who Miss Rachel was, but then I started researching her a little bit more and her mannerisms and the way she talked to the kids and the songs. And then someone asked me if I'd go to their birthday party as Miss Rachel. And so I'm doing birthday party visits now.
Oh my gosh. I just love how it turned into like one small idea and now it's like molded into all of these things because you found something that there was lacking. Like, you found a place in the market. And I think for everyone listening, I think that's so important is when you find a space in the market. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, what is one piece of advice that you would give yourself at the beginning of starting this business?
I would say just a lot of it is just do your research, find out what works and what doesn't work. A lot of it is just trial and error, really, and just keep going and just don't stop. And if you think you want to stop, just don't. Just keep going. And that's all I really can say. I mean, it's a little tricky, because you don't know what works, what doesn't work yet until you actually try it.
Exactly. And you started with one thing and now you kind of have these different offers. What are some of the other things that you are known for besides the Miss Rachel visits?
Definitely my sensory play classes is like met all my kids from there. So I would definitely say my sensory play classes, I've held them for the last 3 years and I still maintain relationships with the families and also the sensory play classes too. I still run those when I'm not doing Miss Rachel and all the other things that I do. But I would say I'm pretty much known for that.
Oh my gosh. And how do you tailor your programs for the different ages?
Well, basically, I do it with I put it within a range. So the 12 months to like 3 years. And then if like I have little babies in the class, like I have the families sign up. So if I know that there's a younger class, I'll tailor the activities towards like the younger kids. I'll add, age appropriate fillers for the bins, age appropriate toys. And then if I have like a little older kids, then I would just gear it towards them. So, and then for the social classes, I do it like within an average range. So I know that's within their developmental range. So I have classes for like 4 to 6 year olds, and then I have classes for like 7 plus. So it goes with their developmental age. And then I just gear it to wherever their developmental level is.
Interesting. So I am loving the fact that you have from young, like 12 months all the way to 7 plus. Who was your oldest student? How old was that student?
I still have a 13-year-old that still comes.
Oh my gosh. Okay. What do you do in the class with the 13-year-olds?
They really work through different play schemes, different situations and stuff. And the way that I run my social groups, I strongly believe that, you can't teach social skills by having kids sit down and just teach social. I believe that they happen naturally. So a lot of times in my classes, I'll set up and I set up with purpose. I know that, we're going to play Uno and someone's going to lose. And so I know that when someone's going to lose, we're going to have to learn how to self regulate our emotions on how to, be okay with losing. So I do a lot of that, just set up different activities, knowing that I'm going to have to work on some sort of a social situation. And it's been working out and I make it fun. So the kids don't know that they're learning anything. They just think they're playing.
Wow. I love that thought behind, I mean, Uno, I'm not gonna lie. I can't stand it, especially when somebody does that like reverse plus four. It drives me up a wall. So like I think I should probably come and get some of these like classes. But at the same exact time, the fact that you are sitting here, you're taking your OT skills, you're taking, social skills, and even though these are play classes, you're putting a purpose to them, which I think is beautiful. Like it's very easy, and I think especially our kids are growing up behind a keyboard. So it's very easy for them to react in situations without actually caring what the other person's gonna think. So you're making an environment where these older kids have to learn how to lose and lose
Yeah.
gracefully.
Oh, and it's hard. And I mean, I believe that, everybody should have a chance and
Mhm.
everything, but in life, you have to learn that there is going to
Yes.
be one winner and not everyone's going to get a trophy at the end. So a lot of times I try to teach the kids, like, it's okay to lose. It's all right. Your friend won. Let's celebrate him and let's learn, how did he win? What did he do differently? So it's like a really big learning situation for them too.
Yeah, I mean, it stinks to not lose the first time, but it doesn't mean you're never gonna win. It
Yes.
just means in that moment.
Exactly, exactly. So and then we play again and we learn that somebody else wins. So not everybody is, going to lose. Like there's going to be your chance where, if you keep on trying, you're going to be a winner.
So, okay, I wanna know. So let's say we're in the 12-month class. What can we expect to happen in this sensory play?
So I set up my bins. So basically it's more of a theme based. So we'll
Okay.
come up with a theme.
Cute.
So, dinosaurs, fall, Halloween, Christmas, all the popular themes. So I'll come up with a theme and then I'll make like sensory bins, like ginormous sensory bins. I dye rice, I do pastas. So if it's like the little babies, I'll do like large size pastas, big size pom poms, different textures for them to feel and interact with. And then I put like large pieces in there that go with the theme. So we'll start with like a little activity, like a developmental play activity. So if it's 12 months, I'll do like a ring sorter or a shape sorter, something developmentally appropriate for them. And then we go on to like a quick story. I read the room. So if they're a little fussy, we go right through that, and then we start with the bins, and then we'll just play with the bins, and then while the kids are engaging with the bins, the families have to engage. That's big. They have to engage, so I try to give every single family individual attention, so I'll go with each family, and I'll tell them, "Wow, so and so is doing so great using their 2 hands," and I try to use parent language versus, OT language,
Mhm.
and I teach them, different ways to play because a lot of families, they get stuck, like they don't know how to play with their baby.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just give them a cup. It doesn't have to be super expensive toys. It could be simple like pom-poms and a cup or like a spoon and a bowl or something like that to get
Yeah.
them to engage. So I teach families the skills. I teach them developmental, like what's going to happen next, what to look for.
Mhm.
And that's a good time for the families to ask like a professional, is my kid doing okay?
Yeah.
Because, they're not walking yet. And I'm like, it's all right. Like give them some time and then I'll give them just different strategies on how to get them to walk. So I definitely do a lot of teaching in the classes too.
That is really cool because I mean, I think I'm in a bunch of Facebook mom groups. Let's call a spade, and all I see all the time is my kid isn't doing this. My kid isn't doing this. And it's so nice that there's a space where you are like actually have eyes on these kids to be like, oh, like there's nothing to worry about. Or you're being able to put those moms at ease that are just like freaking out because they're looking at another 1-year-old walking across the room. So that is really cool. Now, let's say I brought my 4-year-old in. What are we doing then?
So are you thinking I also do sensory play classes for older kids too. So would you sign up for a sensory play class or like a social play class?
Ooh. Okay, trick question. Social. Let's do social.
Okay, so for social, what I do is I set up like a lot of different activities. Also, I'm an OT, so I'm very big on sensory play. So I always have like some sort of a sensory type activity, whether it be Play-Doh, whether it be the sensory bins, whether it be we've done foamy soap, and we also did this like jelly thing that the kids really like to play with. So I always have something like that. And then we have a game. And then I also set up like just different, like an obstacle course. Sometimes we'll do like, puzzles, and so has to grab the puzzle. They have to crawl over the buckets, and then they have to crawl through the tunnel and then put it in the puzzle, and then so the next person goes and does it. So we do a lot of movement too. And then we also play a game. I try to make the kids play a game. Obviously, some of them just want to play and they're engaging. So I read the room, and if they're having like a really good play with another friend, then I encourage that. Like I don't want to stop that because I want them to keep coming, and I don't want them to be like, "Oh, well, Miss Tony said we have to do a game." It's
Yeah.
like, we could do a game if you want to do a game. If not, well, then let's keep playing. And then I'll join in with the play, and we'll come up with different play schemes and different just going into their play. And it's child led at that point too. And the kids like to have fun. Sometimes we do a lot of bubbles. Kids love bubbles and movement and music. So
Yeah.
we'll do that. It's just a big fun class. And then we just work on the skills behind the scenes.
Oh my gosh. And I love like that's such, a mindset of going in and watching these kids play and you're like, "No, no, no, I'm not going to interrupt you." That's the whole point is to socialize. It's for them to learn socialization. So watching them doing it and knowing like, "Hey, instead of me doing what I'm thinking we're going to do, I'm going to come down to your level and we're going to play what you're playing and I'll just go off it." That is really cool. Oh my gosh, you do a lot of reading the room. So that's awesome.
Yes, you have to, and you have to think on the spot too. It's not, I can go in with a plan and it can just explode right in front of me. And I'm just like, all right, let's think really fast. What are we going to do? And I've had that happen plenty of times, especially like when you're not really sure. I have families fill out a form of, what kind of skills that they need to work on or what kind of skills that the child needs to work on. Is there anything that I need to know? Like sometimes some kids have like explosive behaviors and I have to know that. So sometimes the families they'll fill that out. Sometimes they don't. And I learned that day. And then I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, well, now we know what to do the next times. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a learning curve for sure. Is there any misconceptions about sensory play or OT that you'd like to set straight?
I would say, when in doubt, always just contact an OT that specializes in sensory because, sensory is the buzzword. It's the big buzzword now, sensory this, sensory that, sensory this. But sometimes some kids don't like the sensory, or sometimes they don't like the textures, and sometimes you may get something and you like sensory, this is going to work, this is great. And then they bring it home and the kid doesn't want to touch it or they don't like the feel of it. So then you're like, well, why? So, sometimes it's good to ask an OT, for the specialized skills regarding like the sensory stuff.
That's so interesting because as you were saying it before, when you're like, and we're touching jelly, and we're touching this, my first thought, I thought of somebody that I used to nanny, and he hated touching those things. And I was like, wow, it's just so, in my mind, as you were talking, it's just so crazy that kids could be so different. Like mine are obsessed with slime and,
Mhm.
touching everything they possibly can. But I always think back to the kid that I nannied who I would wipe his feet after the grass and I'd be like, no, 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 it's okay. Don't worry. I got you. Like, we're going to clean you off. But it's just
Yeah,
so
so
funny.
before I actually became an OT, I was actually a teacher. And this kind of like sparked my interest in OT. I was straight out of college. I was like 24, right? I was young, naive, and I had a preschool class. And I remember to this day, I had a little boy and we were going to do a craft and I had glue. And this kid ran to the other side of the room and he would cry and he would scream and he would go under. And I'm 23. Like, what's going on? Like, why doesn't he want to touch glue? Everybody likes glue because they don't really teach back in the day. I'm talking like
Yeah, yeah.
so many years ago. No one really teaches you about this stuff. So then I went to an OT in service, and then I found out why he went to the other side of the room and screamed. And I was like, that makes sense. This is so and so.
Yep.
That's what he's going through. And that's how I was able to switch like how to approach my crafts when I was younger.
Mhm.
And yeah, and that's stuck in my head ever since that day. And yeah, and then I became an OT.
It's so funny the things that, like, pop into our lives, and now all of a sudden you do, like, a sensory play business. I think that is so funny, just, like, all the little webs that kind of line up to what we're supposed to do. It's
Yeah, it's
crazy.
like this road. It's just this like weird road that you don't know. Like you get
Mhm.
out of college or you just grow up and you're like, I'm going to do this. This is what I'm going to do. And then you do it and it's like, nope, that's not what I want to do. And now you're stuck and you're like, well, what am I going to do? Where do I go? And it's all these different branches and all these different roads that you could go down and you don't know which is the right one. And you just take your best guess. And then you go down that road and you're like, wait a second, this isn't working. Now where am I going to go?
Yep.
It's a crazy journey.
It honestly is.
It
Like,
really is.
it really is, and it's so funny because every single person that's been on here, nothing has been linear. Like, I grew up wanting to do this. I can tell you right now, I did not grow up wanting to write books, and now all of a sudden this is, like, happening, and it's so funny. But if you, like, think back to all the little things that added up, it's just so crazy. I love
Mhm.
that. I could sit there and talk about that all day. I love that so much. So now I wanna kinda transfer into business talk. So you started this business. What's the first thing you did? Was it a website? Was it social media?
I got my LLC.
Oh,
That's what I did. I got my well, actually, no, scratch that, rewind that. I actually had to come up with a name. I had to come up with a name. So that was my first thing, and I didn't know what I wanted to be called. I thought of so many different names, and then just somebody said, "You're taking the kids to the next level." I was like, "Ooh, next level, that sounds good." And then I looked it up because you had to make sure that there's no other businesses, like, within your I guess, your area or your state or whatever, so I found Next Level Kids, and so I was like, "All right, well, let me put an NJ at the end." So that was the very first thing that I did, and then I got my LLC.
and then what'd you do next?
After that, then, I already have liability insurance, so I
Oh,
didn't need
okay.
the insurance part of it, but then I had to market or I had to ask. I did, a couple of Facebook posts asking families, like, "What are you looking for in the town?" So I ended up doing that, so I got some ideas, and then you have to promote, and then you have to promote, and then I came up with a plan, like, this is what I wanna do, and then I came up with a plan, and then I just jumped right in, and that was it, and then I learned along the way. I did things very differently. I learned a lot along the way.
Well, I feel like you have to go in with 2 feet and just be like, "Okay, I'm gonna drown for a second, but I'm gonna get out of here. I'm going to swim up." What is your biggest challenge that you have faced with this business?
My biggest challenge, I would say just trying to promote without being spammy.
I love that. It's so
That's a
true.
big one because, it's like you don't wanna be that person where you're just like, "Oh, this person again?" Or, "Oh, didn't you just post?" So that's pretty hard. I know it sounds, like, really silly,
No, it
but, like,
doesn't.
that's, like, one thing. That's, like, one thing because it's like you just don't wanna be that person.
Yep.
So probably promoting without being spammy and just keeping the classes full, promoting your products to make sure that, they're doing well too, and just keep the money flowing in, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and what has been your biggest accomplishment since starting this business?
I wanna say I got recognized by my national board of occupational therapy. So that was really cool for my
Yes.
sensory play classes, and that's, like, national, so that's, like, all the OTs, and I don't know how it happened, but I got recognized, and they made a whole big article, and so that I think that was my biggest accomplishment.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Thanks.
What is your 5-year plan? Like, where do you see this going in the next 5 years?
Just riding this wave. I love what I'm doing. I love what I do. So I'm gonna keep on doing this and just keep on expanding and just, I kinda scaled back a little bit on my classes because, being a mom, it's like classes can be hit miss and it can be it can cause anxiety. I'm a single mom, so I need to make sure that I have a certain amount of income coming in. So I had to pivot and I had to get another job, occupational therapy based. So I had to do that. And then I pivoted into doing more sensory play kits. So now that's like an added income. So it's like now I'm going to start going into that, but keeping my my sensory play classes and my social classes going because the kids love it, the families love it. So
Yeah.
just doing a little bit of everything.
Yeah, and honestly, like you said, like riding the waves sometimes can take you in the most crazy places, right? And like I love the fact that you brought up that you still have an OT job because you do want to make sure that you're meeting what you need. And I truly honestly believe with starting as many things that I did, when you have the pressure that goes into needing something to survive, it just I feel like sometimes that's when you get super salesy or that's when you get super like not confident in yourself and just
Yeah.
it could implode.
And it does, and it takes a big toll on you too, because sometimes, and then you're constantly checking, like, did I get an email? Did this person sign up? Did that person sign up? Oh my gosh, I only have this many kids in my class. Now I have to keep pushing to get more kids in my class so I can make this much so I'm able to pay for the renting of the
Exactly.
room or I'm able to pay for my bills. So that was, a little that it gets stressful, the business side. So knowing that I still have my job that if let's say I need to pick up more hours to get more income, I'm able to do that.
Yeah, no, definitely. Definitely. And I just want like everybody who's listening to understand it's okay to not dive all in right away.
Mhm.
Yes, you're going to be tired and trust me, I get it. But you would rather be tired and having stability for a little bit until you get your business up and running so this dream that you were chasing doesn't all of a sudden become a nightmare.
Yes.
100%. So now all the moms that are listening that are super into sensory play, what are some things that they can use around their house to kind of bring this environment into their home?
Anything. Pasta, if you have dry pasta, if you have beans, I know a lot of families, they don't really like the mess. So if you put down like a towel or an old bed sheet, you could put that down and have the sensory filler, whatever you want. And like you could have it anything. You could put it in a bucket. You could put it in, one of your pots and you can just put it in there and have the kids just play with that. Instead of if you don't have pom-poms, you can use cotton balls. If you don't have cotton balls, like you can use crumpled tin foil. Tin foil, that's a good one too because it's scratchy and it's hard and it's like different. You can add like really you can use anything for sensory play. If you have cornstarch, you can add a little water to it and make like a goop. That's a fun sensory texture and that will tell you that'll tell you a lot about how your kids feel about sensory.
My gosh. Like it's so funny listening to you just like list these things and I'm like, "Wow, I never thought to put any of that in front of my kids."
Mhm. Paper. You can crumple paper and crumpling is really good too because that works on two hand skills and also works on hand strength. And then you can use that crumpled paper and you can throw it at a target. If you have like paper cups, you can make it into a pyramid and try to use it to throw the cups down. So not only did you do like a sensory part, but you also did like a different gross motor and a fine motor activity as well. So you can do anything with anything.
That is so creative. I love that it's like reminds me of like the carnival games where you like take the ball and you throw it at the clown and it
Yep.
has to like fall down. My son
Yep.
loves that game. He would
Yeah.
definitely love that.
Yes, even something simple as water. You can change the sensory piece of water with just adding like maybe one little drop of dye in it or like anything in it to make it a different color. And now that changes the sensory piece of that as well.
My gosh. Guys, you guys could be doing all of these really fun sensory things at home too. That is awesome. How can moms tell if their child would really benefit from sensory play or an OT style class?
Well, you could tell like if they're I always say give a kid a chance because a lot of times, especially babies, because you think about it, babies haven't touched paint yet. They haven't touched glue. So if they're really like they don't like the sensory piece of it, then, keep on entertaining that. I
Mm.
say try a sensory play class out. So just try the class, see if they like the textures. If they're having a really hard time, you can kind of tell based on their reactions to whatever's in front of them. So if they don't like the feel of rice, if they don't like the sound of pasta, then you know that that's like a little bit of a red flag. But keep trying it
Mm.
because kids when they're not familiar with it, then some kids they have that initial reaction to like, "Ooh, I don't like this," and then they cry or they don't like it
Mm.
or they run away. Keep trying it, and if they don't get used to it, then I would say maybe reach out to an OT and say, "Hey, my kid doesn't really like, the feeling of like, I don't know, like rice, or my kid really doesn't like water too much, or a big one is like walk barefoot on grass. And I said, I understand, because, sometimes I don't really like
I
walking
like
on
that
grass.
either.
And it's like everybody has some sort of sensory thing going
Mhm.
on. What makes it a challenge or what makes it a red flag is how we respond to it. That's the big thing. So, for example, like some kids who have sensory issues with touch, right? Let's say
Mhm.
Play Doh, right? They don't like Play Doh and they're like, ick, I don't like it. And they push it away. Okay, that's an appropriate response. It's okay. You told me you don't like the Play Doh, you just want to push it away. But it's their reaction. So let's say you put the Play Doh in front of them, they're like, ick, and they throw it and they scream and they cry and they don't want to touch it. That's not a natural response. So we have to teach those kids, how to make it a natural response, or how to say, no, thank you, or that's okay. If it's in my space, I can just move on to something else. Because as we get older, everybody has some sort of sensory thing.
Mhm.
I'm not a big fan of jello, but I can be around it. And if it's near me, I can be like, all right, no, thank you. And that's an appropriate response.
Yeah.
So if we're throwing ourselves on the ground because of jello, then we have a problem. And then we should
Yeah.
seek an occupational therapist.
Okay. Okay. I'm like thinking of my kids and my daughter. Tell me if I'm wrong. She hated the hand dryers in the bathroom. Hated. Like, she would fear it, she would come behind me, she would cover her ears. This is the first year, I mean, they're everywhere now, you can't escape them. This is the first year where sh like, we were at the bathroom maybe 2 weeks ago, and she put her hands under it to dry, and there was no covering her ears anymore. Is that a sensory thing too?
Well, she grew into it, or she knew that this is what's gonna happen, this is how I can respond. So when she was little, that's scary, that's a scary thing, like, especially when the toilet flushes without knowledge, like, without any alert,
Prompting,
like it's
yeah.
gonna flush, that's kinda scary, it sprays water, like, for little kids, that's pretty scary, but as you get older, then you learn, "Alright, this is okay, this isn't gonna hurt me," then that's how they get that appropriate response. So sometimes just exposing them to those things, their sensory system just regulates and they kinda understand, like, what's going on and this is what's going to happen so they can prepare themselves. So that's why she kinda grew into it, and she matured, and now she knows, all right, this isn't so bad. It's gonna dry my hands. It might be loud, but it's only for a few seconds.
It's funny to, like, you know and I was just, like, just saying it and thinking about it, it's just so weird to see that they really do grow into different situations, and it just, like, happens in a blink of an eye, and you don't even think twice about it. Like, I didn't even think twice about that moment until I just thought of it right now, and I was like, "Oh, I think that this goes in line with that." So,
Yeah.
for any mom that's listening, and what I'm understanding is if their kid is freaking out, throwing it, really just having a hard time with the slime in front of them, then that is something that should absolutely be talked to with an OT.
Yeah, like you could ask them. I mean, I don't know about a lot of other OTs, but I always tell like everybody that I know, if ever you have a question, just reach out to me. Just ask me,
Love
and
it.
I can tell you, like, I can give you the right direction to go to. And, if it's something like a red flag, I'll ask like a lot of questions and I'll say, okay, maybe it's time to go check out your doctor or see your doctor and then ask for an OT referral and see, and then, that's when you would get your services if needed. And then an OT can do a screen and they can say yes or no, and then that's when they'll work on the sensory needs. But like I tell everybody, just reach out to me. I live in kind of like a little bit of a smaller town. I still live in the town that I grew up in. So a lot of people know who I am and they know that I'm an OT. So I get emails, I get text messages, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this person, they just started school and they're not liking the bell. How do we navigate this? So definitely just reach out because it can't hurt to just ask.
It definitely can. So you guys heard it here. Tony is open. If you have any questions and you just want some kind of mama piece of something that's going on, thank you for that. That is great.
No, especially being just a mom, even a first time mom or second time mom, any mom or any journey that you're in your momhood, it's not the same. Sometimes it's easier because you're just like, all right, this is the second kid. I know this cry. I know that cry. I know when they're hungry. So it's a different type of anxiety when you're just like, wait a second, my firstborn, they were walking by now. Why are they not walking now? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, my second one, he's not self-feeding with a spoon. What's going on? And it's just a different type of anxiety. So it's nice to have that just, you know, extra person just be like, hey. Is this okay? Is this normal? Like, let me know. Something
Yeah.
to just have that village.
Yeah, it is so important to have a village. It honestly is. I mean, we talk about that all the time. Like just to have somebody to ask these questions to is huge. Huge. Seriously, thank you. So, what advice would you give a mom who's trying to juggle supporting her kids' needs and not lose herself in the process?
I would say definitely take some time for yourself. Try to take time for yourself because you can lose yourself. And I remember like when I first got divorced and my son was 2 and there's so much to do and everything. I had to step back and just be like, it's okay to take a moment and just breathe for a second. Relax and just take a time for yourself. And it's not selfish to do that. It's not selfish to do that because you need that to survive. And you need to be grounded and you need to be in the right headspace in order to raise your little tiny humans.
No, and I love that you just said that it's not selfish. It's absolutely not because if
Mm-mm.
your cup is empty, how are you possibly filling anybody else's?
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, like, there are some times I'm just like, "All right, mommy's in a timeout. Just give me 5 minutes. Let me just calm myself," and then, because if not, you'll burn out, and it's hard because it's life is so demanding right now with everything that you need to do. It's not like how it used to be where, one parent could work and the other parent can stay home, so it's like you're able to spend time with the kids and focus on everything. There are a lot of times where you're working 9 to 5. You have to come home, make dinner, do the lunches, get the kids ready, bath, bed, and then you're like, I'm tired. So it's nice to just chill out and just take a moment for yourself.
No, absolutely, absolutely, and I appreciate the fact that, like, you're bringing in so many important things to note. It's not the same that it was before when it was one working household. Now it's not only do we have to work all day and mom like we're supposed to because everybody has a lot of opinions about mothers, but we also need to do these side jobs because
Mhm.
we need to bring in extra money. There's still not enough, even with
Yes.
two people working, which is
Yeah.
wild to me.
I know. It's absolutely insane, and I'm fortunate to be able to do so much and try to just keep going because life is changing and nothing's getting cheaper. So
Yeah.
you got to come up with different ways to make things work.
No, absolutely, absolutely, and that's why this platform exists to have people like you, Tony, come on and help the mom that's listening that needs a way out. So that's why, it's so nice to have this village, this special village of all these incredible moms coming on here and sharing ways for the other moms to even just up level themselves too. So thank you again because we love having you here. Now, the final question, Tony. What does being a money hungry mama mean to you?
I would say it means the hustle. Just keep that hustle. Um, you know, it's just keep that determination and just doing the best for your family. And you can't stop. You just have to keep going. And even if you feel like you were knocked down or something didn't work out the way that you wanted it to work out, or let's say that you did your very first class, or let's say you did your very first vendor event. And maybe you only sold 2 little items, but you put out so much of a big vendor fee. Don't let that stop you. Just keep going. Just keep on being hungry for that success or hungry for that next step that you're going to go into or you're going to go in and just keep doing what you need to do cuz that's life. Like you can't stop. So, being money hungry, it's like you have to do what's best for your family and just that's it. Just do your best.
Yeah,
Keep going.
seriously. It's so hard and I love the fact that you brought up too just now the vendor event that you can bring so much product and it could cost you, however a couple hundred and you sell 2 items. Been there, done that. It is absolutely something that is so disheartening, but I can promise you it's it's facts. Data for you to be like, "Oh, you know what? That's not my event." I'll never forget, I did one vendor event it was a church, and I brought all of my children's books. I was so, so excited, and every single person passed was like, "Oh, I wish I had kids that age. Oh, I wish I had kids that age. Oh, I wish I had grandchildren." They were all in their 80s. Easy. Easy.
Yeah.
And here I am with my toddler children's books, and they're like, "They're so cute. I wish I had kids that age." Guys, I didn't sell one book. I didn't sell one book. And it was because I chose the wrong market. And sometimes that's okay. That was data. Okay, no more church events. Like
Yeah.
you just
But you also
learn.
have to, and it's also very important for everyone listening to also know that even though you may not have sold anything, you probably made so many other connections. And now
100%.
those people are connected to you. And now that person is going to connect you to whatever they're doing. And then you build up your little network. So it's really important to not get out of that, that class, that vendor event, that whatever you just did empty handed and you're just like, great, this was just a waste. No, because you made connections, you learned lessons, and you just keep going forward and you're just like, okay, what did I learn next time? And now like you said, not to do that event. But now you're gonna go but you did your first one, you know how to present yourself, you know how to talk to people. So that's a
100%.
big thing too, because a lot of people they get nervous talking to other people. So you got that out of the way. So it's,
Oh,
you just gotta
100%.
learn.
My first event ever was $10. And I went in with the mindset, like, I'm not trying to sell anything. I just want practice. Like, I just want practice to walk into the space and just talk to people, to have like a really nice setup. The whole entire thing was a practice run. And I ended up selling like 50 books for a
Yeah.
practice run. So even though that $100 one I sold, I did forget one older woman, she felt really bad for me, so she bought all of my books. So I did sell a couple books, but to one sale, and so that one was $100, made the one sale, but I did make connections, like you said, to the church, and then this other one that I came in with the mindset of, "This is gonna be a practice run," I walked away selling 50 books. So you honestly don't really know what is gonna hit and what's gonna miss until you try a year of different events, but you will always walk away with connections,
Yeah,
always.
always.
It's the best. It honestly is the best. Toni, where can everybody find you?
So I am primarily like a Facebooker, honestly.
Okay.
I started with Facebook. My Facebook page is solid. I'm still trying to grow my Instagram. So I swear, like, I feel like I need, I feel like I need, there's like a marketing thing for like marketing over 40, like how to do like reels and I'm just like tapping into this and I'm like, what is this? Like these different transitions. I'm like, I just want to post a picture.
Yeah.
But then posting a picture doesn't always get you whatever you need. So I'm still learning the Instagram thing, but I'm on Instagram and on Facebook. And also I have a website. So on Instagram and Facebook, I'm at Next Level Kids with a Z, NJ. And then same thing for my website. So it's Next Level Kids NJ.
Love it. And do you have your Instagram and your Facebook linked? So when you post to one, it automatically goes to the other?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Yeah, you definitely want to do that. And as far as reels and like help, it's called CapCut. CapCut. Okay? It is the best. The best.
Yeah, but it's just coming up with the time
Yeah.
because and then you have to juggle the 9 to 5,
Mhm.
and then you have to juggle the time to, take care of your kids, get yourself like rested, and then you have to make these cap cuts just like 40 minutes in and then I'm down the road and I'm watching dog videos and I'm like, "Wait, what happened? I'm supposed to make a video." And here I am watching like these dogs run, like one's talking and I'm like, "What am I doing?"
It happens all the
I
time.
swear. I swear I have adult ADD. I
Oh,
swear to it.
100%.
100%.
100%. That's the same exact as me. Every single time I sit down, I'm like, okay, that's it. Don't leave here until you post. And then all of a sudden it's 11 o'clock at night and I'm like, dang it, I didn't post. Now I messed it up. That's it.
And you miss that window because then you have to figure out what time is the best time to post, and it's like,
It's a
yeah, it's
whole
like,
other job, social media.
yeah, it is. It really is.
It honestly is. And guys, you're not alone. That's the whole point of this podcast. You're listening to both of us go, you are not alone. If you are sitting
No.
there at night, all of a sudden watching dog videos and wondering where the time went and missing your window, you are not alone. We are right here with you. And it's because everybody is starting at ground zero here. And
Yeah.
that is the best part.
And I'm 3 years in. Like, I've been doing this for 3 years, but my Facebook is pretty solid. I feel like I get a lot more on Facebook than I do on Instagram. So, like, on Facebook, I'm pretty good. Instagram, yeah, that's a whole different animal for me.
Also think why Facebook works so well for local, like different like play things and being in person is because Facebook made town pages. Like, people made
Mhm.
town pages. So, when people wanna do town things, they're looking to Facebook.
Yeah.
When people want to kind of just see aesthetics, they're going to Instagram. So, I also think, if for everybody listening, this is just something that I've been coming under this, like, mindset in the past 10 years now, but is to actually use Facebook if you're a local in-person thing. I think you're gonna thrive there for sure.
Yeah. Yeah,
100%.
so that's that. So I'm still learning. So if you go to my Instagram and you're just like, "Oh, this girl only has, like, these." Yeah, I'm not very pretty, it's not very pretty, it's not very creative, it's cut dry, it's like, there you go, I found a picture, I took a picture, there you go. So don't judge my photos.
She's also Miss Rachel. She doesn't have a lot
Oh,
of
yeah,
time
yeah,
to be
I do, and I was
posting.
TikTok. I actually one of I did a birthday party, and the mom took a TikTok video, and I don't know how it happened, but it ended up getting 540,000 likes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Did she tag your business?
yeah, I
Oh,
did.
thank goodness.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it just happens. Like, you never know when
You
it's gonna
don't.
happen, and it just happens. I've no rhyme or reason, no clue how it went. I asked her, and she said I picked she picked a good, like, audio bite or something, sound bite, and that's how it hits. Yeah. So if you need a Miss Rachel, from what I heard, from what I hear, it's pretty legit, pretty legit.
I love it.
That was not on my bingo card. Being an OT and then morphing into Miss Rachel visits, that was not on my bingo card, but yeah.
And now look at you. I love this. This conversation has led to so many, like, thought bubbles because, you don't guys, nothing is linear. Everybody is jumping around. Maybe you'll be, I don't know. I don't even know who's in that Blippy. I don't know. But honestly, like, you never know. Things just happen and people say things. You're in the right room. You're talking to the right people. You're listening to the right podcast. It just clicks, and then one day when it clicks, you just become crazy, and you love it, and you go after it with everything you have. You become a
Yeah,
mom
and it
grandmama.
keeps me going, like, it's exciting. So it's like to find out where I'm gonna be in, like, 5 years, who knows where I could be? I have no idea. Maybe I could have my own YouTube channel for all I know. Like, I have no clue, So it's pretty cool to find out, like, where you're gonna be or what you could think of doing. And
100%.
I didn't expect to do, I was a teacher, go to OT. From an OT, now I'm doing play classes. Now I'm doing sensory play kits and birthday favors. I'm doing birthday party entertainment. I'm doing Miss Rachel visits. And yep, here I am.
Oh my gosh.
Now I'm on a podcast. Who would have thought that?
If you end up on YouTube as an Miss Rachel, I will freak out. So if you end up making a YouTube, you let us know because I'm
Oh
gonna
my
be
gosh,
waiting for
yeah.
that. I'm gonna be waiting for that. Miss Toni, I'm gonna be like, "What?"
She did a podcast for me.
And people are gonna be you at birthday parties. So that is gonna be extremely cool. Oh my gosh, Toni, thank you so much for coming on.
Well, thank you for having me. This was awesome.